It was a sunny day in Ponyville. Spike were at the School of Friendship to help Twilight with some other important school documents. After that, he had helped her with some other documents that she needed help with. He asked her if there was something else that she required help with. And Twilight said no, there were nothing else that she needed his help with. So he felt free to do something else on his own. So he said thanks, and he said that he will see her later at the castle. After that, Spike left the school. He started just walking around in town when he suddenly started feeling a bit hungry. Spike hasn't been eating anything since breakfast that morning. Since he had helped Twilight with the many different documents and books at the school since the morning until around noon, and since it was 1 p.m., he decided to maybe go to Sugarbeet Corner to get something to eat. So when he walked over, he was greeted by Mrs. Cake by the counter. He walked up to her and she asked him what he would like to buy. At first, he wasn't sure, so he looked through some of the menu and something like that. And after he decided to order at least a half a dozen of cupcakes, and she said says that he will take care of it. But then Mr. Cake called from the kitchen, and that he needed her help. So Mrs. Cake told her daughter Pumpkin Cake to help Spike with his order. See, she said yes, and she was walking over. Spike was sitting down and just waiting for his order to be done. After about a couple of minutes, Pumpkin Cake called to Spike that his order was finished, and he walked over, paid for it, and said thanks, and left. He was walking to the park since it was a nice day. He decided why not sitting at the park to enjoy the day though. But as he was finding a spot to sit down, he thought for a moment. Pumpkin Cake was quite beautiful, even though that he hasn't been any interested in any other ponies for a while. Only about 2 years earlier, Spike had admitted his feelings for Rarity, but Rarity only admitted that she only liked him as a brother, nothing more, which he took very hard. It took him a while to get used to that Spike that Rarity only liked him as like a brother, nothing more. But after some time, he tried to move on, and maybe he was right. Maybe that since Twilight told him after that he admitted to Rarity, and he told her what Rarity said to him. And Twilight said to him that he will find some pony one day when he at least expected. And he was waiting for the right mare to show up. Even though for the past 2 years he had always wondered how his life would have been if he had been with Rarity. But he had to realize there was nothing else that he could do about it, so he had to move on. As he found a good spot in the park, sit down and just started enjoying his cupcakes when suddenly he realized something though. When he thought himself earlier that he thought that Pumpkin Cake was quite beautiful. She was around the same age as himself. Even though that she was probably not interested in him the same way, but at least he thought that she was cute. But he wanted to focus on something else now. As he was sitting there, suddenly he heard a voice behind him. He turned around and saw Discord. Discord, what are you doing here? He asked. Just popping in to see what my friends are doing, said Discord with a smile, as he was hovering above him. You see you have some cupcakes. May I have some? But Discord smiled and asked. Go ahead, take it for it. And he gives by Discord one, and then he just said, cupcakes are always good with some chocolate milk. Don't you think so? I guess, says Spike. You want something? No, I'm fine, Discord. I'm fine. Honestly, I. It's okay if you want to have some of your own, but I'm okay without it. Suit yourself, said Discord and snapped his fingers, and a glass of chocolate milk appeared. So, Spike, what you been up to today? Well, helping Twilight at the school. Pretty much it. Ah, says the Discord with a smile. One day you might start working there as a teacher yourself. Me, as a teacher? I doubt it, said Spike with a smile. I prefer maybe to be as an assistant, but a teacher? Well, think about it, Spike. If Twilight did ask you to be a teacher or something, I don't know. Well, that depends on what kind of classes that would be, said this Spike. Well, it's about what if it was about dragons and their culture? Huh? You have a point there. This Discord says Spike. I mean, if it was about dragons, I mean, maybe me and Smolder could be like the teacher and assistant teacher to teaching others about it. But at the moment, I am still as a baby dragon. I still have no experience of being teaching or anything. But if there had been happening that Twilight asked me to be a teacher about teaching about dragons and our culture, yeah, I will probably think about it. But right now, I prefer to be as myself. Enjoy life and enjoy my childhood as much as I can, as much as I can. Yeah, that's true, says Discord. I mean, you have experienced a lot of things. I mean, I'm sure you had experienced a lot of things involved with dragons in your past. Yeah, you know it, said Discord agreeing. But some I don't believe even as a good things happening. I mean, back in your days, when you rolled a quest for time, I would doubt it that you would even had anything to do with the dragons to teach them a lesson or so. Uh, that I don't know, said Discord with a grin. Even though Spike knew that Discord had something done with the dragons in the past, but he wanted to admit it. But after a while, Spike had been eating his cupcakes, and he just stood there, and Discord decided to leave because he wanted to go somewhere else. So Spike sit there, just relaxing under the tree. But after a while, though, he started to get a little bit tired. So he decided to just go back to the castle, maybe get a nap or something. But as he was walking to the castle, he ran into Starlight and Sunburst. Oh, hey Starlight, Sunburst? I didn't expect you to see you here. Sunburst was actually had just come back from his home in to his mother. How was your visit then, by the way, to your hometown? Uh, it went actually well. We met some old friends of ours and spent time with our parents, and things actually seems to be working out for us, and they both to be seems to be more good terms. Yeah, I would say that something like that. Said Summers. Anyways, we were about to go to the castle to meet Twilight. Is she there? No, she. Last time I saw her, she was at the school actually. Okay, we'll go there. Alright. Spike then went to the castle, just went to his room, lay down. It didn't take long for him to just fall asleep. But there was something in his dreams that something would change his mind and also his life. In the dreams, he was a knight and he heard a scream of pain or of a yelp for help. He ran as fast as he could to this where the sound was coming from. And he saw this mare dressed as a princess. And he stood there in front of this timber wolf, giant timber wolf. As he was stood in front of this mare, started to defend her like a knight in shining armor. After he managed to defeat this timber wolf, as he turned around and saw the mare perfectly, when he saw it was actually pumpkin cake. He wasn't sure, but as he looked at her, he suddenly woke up and sat on his bed and he asked himself, what could this dream be about? Even though he thinks that pound cake is cute, but he didn't think much about it. So he just brushed it off and decided maybe there was something, just a random dream that happens. But he wanted to go back to sleep. But for some reason, he wasn't tired anymore. So he grabbed some of his mag comic books and tried to read some of them, tried to focus on something else. The rest of the day, Brent, anything was just normal. He went down to have dinner with Twilight, Sunburst, and even with Starlight. But he never mentioned about his dream to either of them, because he thought he felt maybe it wasn't much as important to bring up. But even though that dream was in his mind the rest of the day and the rest of the evening, but it was something about it that he couldn't even think about. But he tried to just brush it off as just a random dream. But that same evening when he went to bed, it didn't take long for him to fall asleep though. But something that night would change all that. He had another dream about her and him. In fact, in this dream, it happened similar again. But this time he was fighting against a Hydra. This Hydra was attacking this mare, but he didn't see at first who were. But after he managed to defeat this Hydra, but as he turned around, it saw it was Pumpkin Cake again. But this time he didn't even wake up. He wasn't sure what this dream could be about. But as this dream continued, eventually it ended. But another dream came on after that. But it was a completely different dream. But that next morning, when Spike woke up, he remembered that dream. But he still had no idea what it's about. He was asking himself, why am suddenly having dreams about her a second time? Maybe it was just some random occurrence. And he told himself, maybe this isn't worth much to bring up to Twilight, and so he decided not to tell any pony about his dream, or this the first one he had. But as a few days passed, Spike still had some dreams about him and Pumpkin Cake. Now he started to wondering, what is this dream about? Even though they were not the same dream repeatedly. The first two dreams were very similar, but those afterwards were completely different. Some of them that he was at the park sitting by himself, suddenly when Pumpkin Cake walks up to him, and in one of the dreams he was actually getting married with Pumpkin Cake. In one of the dreams he was married with her, have a family. He started asking himself, does these dreams have any particular any important message or something? He wasn't sure exactly what to do about this, but he still hadn't even brought this up to any point, especially Twilight. Even though Twilight maybe not even understanding of this, but he knows if he had told Twilight about this, even though she might not be able to help him, but she would have suggested to reach out to Luna, since Luna is the only pony that can help others in their dreams. So that one night, after been having these dreams about him and Pumpkin Cake for about almost a week, he went to sleep. But before then, he reached out his mind just before he fell asleep to reach out to Luna, hoping that she would hear him. Luna, I need your help. I need your help. And then he fell asleep. But as the dream started, he was in alone in a in some sort of, he was in some sort of room. There was a desk and a chair. He was sitting in a chair, but there was nothing in front of him, otherwise this desk. But then suddenly, like a door opened, and out came Luna. She said to Spike that she knows that he was calling out for her for help. And he told her about these dreams that he has been having for about a week. And he wasn't sure how to figure out. He hasn't even told anyone. He hasn't told any pony, not even Twilight or any other friends. And he wasn't sure what his dreams could be and had a particular meaning. He was clueless. But he knows that Luna was the only pony that may help him. But he said, even if she can't help him, he will be very clueless what happened. But then suddenly the rooms changed, and they were walking through some sort of a hallway, a lot of doors in front of them. And then suddenly that particular surrounding also changed. Now they were in some sort of in a light, it's also some sort of room, but the walls and the floor, everything was like light blue. Luna explained to Spike these dreams were not ordinary dreams. Some of them were some particular, could have been a potential window of a future for him. A future? He asked. She nodded. And he tried to explain, give so much details. But Luna said that she wouldn't be able to give him as much details. Because, I like she said, potential dreams, future. But the only thing that she could, when he asked, like, so if you like many potential, it does, what I envisioned could have been eventually end up marrying Pumpkin Cake and have a family with her? That you know that isn't, yes, it's possible those could happen if you are willing to give this a chance. But Spike said that he hasn't even ever thought about even ask her out, or if she has any attraction to Spike at all. But he said that she thinks that she's cute, and he would be willing to give her a chance to see if that could work. But he wasn't sure if he was even going to do so. But after having those dreams, Spike realized maybe it was worth a try at least. But he said that he knows that Luna can't actually in the future. But he asked her for her opinion. If he should ask her out or not. That was something that she couldn't even decide for him either. But her advice was to listen to his heart. And for that, she disappeared. And the next morning when he woke up, he remembers his meeting with Luna that night in his dream. And he wondered, maybe that he should follow her advice and listen to his heart. He closed his eyes and thought of Pumpkin Cake, asked himself if he should ask her not. It was like his heart telling him, do it, do it, do it, repeatedly. So he thought about it and decided to do it. That same afternoon, when Spike had helped Twilight at the School of Friendship with some documents or maybe some books, something like that. After that, he left the school and went straight to Shukuku Corner to ask Pumpcake out on a date. But there was something about that, and when he was just outside the door, he still had the opportunity and chance to just turn around and walk away. But it was something as like something control on him, his mind. As he walked in, either Mr. or Mrs. Cake were at the counter. It was actually Pumpkin Cake. She was a little surprised to see him there, but she greeted him as normal and asked him if it was something that he would like to buy, even though he wanted to just ask her out right there. But then he said, "Yeah, I'd like to buy a half a dozen of apple cupcake things." Then after that, this order was done. He then asked her if she maybe would like to go out with him on a date. She was stunned. For all of this, never expecting Spike to ask her out. But he said he understood that she may not want to go out with him, but before he could finish, she said actually she would like that. So they decided to go out to the movies the next day on a Friday. After he left them, Pumpkin Cake stood there, still surprised that Spike had even had asked her out. But just a moment later, her parents came back. They saw that she looked a little bit surprised about something. They asked her if something was okay. She said that things are okay. That Spike had asked her out. Both Mr. and Mrs. Cake looked at each other like, really? Wait a minute. Spike asked you out, Pancake? She nodded. They had no idea. But as they went to ask him more about it, but she said nothing more that he came there, bought some cupcakes and asked her out and decided to go to the movies the next day, and that was pretty much it. So but the next day, Spike went to Sugar Cube Corner outside and waited for her. She came out, and they went to the movies and they decided to watch a comedy. They had a great time there, just watching the movies, and afterwards they actually walked back to Sugar Cube Corner to he wanted to make sure that she came home safely. And up there, she thanked him for this amazing date, and she asked him if he would like to maybe go out for a picnic the next day, since it was Saturday, and she didn't have to work on Saturday with her parents. He said yes. So by next day, when Spike was in the kitchen preparing some picnic, since he had was willing to give them to pack the picnic for them, when Twilight walks in, Spike, what are you doing? She asks. Oh, Twilight, I didn't see you there. I'm just preparing for a picnic. A picnic? Wait, with who? Pumpkin cake? Wait, are you going out with her? Is this your first date with her or something? And then Spike explained that he was actually on a date with her the day before. She was stunned, but she was happy that at least Spike may have found some pony to be with. So she wished him good luck, and they actually went to the park, had a good time, laughing, telling some jokes, and just having an amazing time. After about maybe a week, everyone in town knew about Spike and Pumpkin Cake now was as an official couple. At first, they weren't even considering being official, but after being at the second date, they actually thought about it. But they didn't make it official until like the fourth date, at least. Shortly after that, Spike and Pumpkin Cake became as official couple. For some reason, he hasn't felt this happy for a long time. Ever since he admitted to Rarity 2 years earlier about his feelings for her. After that, that reaction made him felt unhappy inside. But after he and Pumpkin Cake became as official couple, he felt like that void in his heart has been filled with light and happiness again. He and actually Pumpkin Cake went on many different dates. Often went to the movies, having romantic dinners, or picnics, or to the movies again. But it happened a couple of times where Spike had to leave Ponyville for about maybe a week or so. Sometimes there were that he had to follow with Twilight to either the Crystal Empire, or maybe to some diplomatic missions to Saudi Arabia or any other kingdoms nearby. But Pumpkin Cake always knew that Spike would be back shortly soon afterwards. One particular time when he went with Twilight to Saudi Arabia for about a week, she waited for him for every single day. She knew that he will always be back. For her love for him became as an unbreakable bond. But eventually, when he do came back home, she couldn't stop waiting for to see him again. One day, Spike walked into the library when he saw that Starlight and Twilight were talking about something. They were talking about the upcoming Grand Gambling Gala in Camelot. Both was actually looking forward to go to the gala. And of course, Spike was always invited as Twilight's assistant, but he wanted to go with somebody else this time. And he asked Twilight if it was possible that he could bring Pumpkin Cake as his personal date to the gala. Even that Twilight was expecting that maybe it's something that he would ask her, and she said yes. He could actually bring Pumpkin Cake to the gala as his date. Of course, she gave him an extra ticket for this. And right afterwards, he went straight to the Sugar Corner to ask Pumpkin Cake. But when he came there was only Mr. Cake and Pumpkin Cake. Pumpkin Cake's twin brother. He asked them if Pumpkin Cake was there, but both said no because she was apparently at the market, but they will be back only shortly. So Spike decided to wait until when she comes back though. But about maybe 10 minutes later, sure enough, Mrs. Cake and Pumpkin Cake showed up. Pumpkin Cake was surprised to see Spike there, but as she walked up to him, he asked her if she was willing to be his date for the Grand Gaping Gala. Mr. and Mrs. Cake was actually looked at both each other a little bit surprised, but he said yes, and he was actually gave her the ticket as a gift that she was going that she could go to the gala with him. Since the gala was only about a week away, so it would give her some time to find a good dress for the gala. She went shopping crazy with her mother to find its perfect dress. Even they went to a couple of stores in town, but for some reason she couldn't find the perfect dress though. So Mrs. Cake suggested they go to Rarity's boutique, where maybe that she has the perfect dress there. So they went there. They found some beautiful dresses that she might be going to pick from, but somehow Pumpkin Cake couldn't feel any of them was the right dress for her. So Rarity asked if she wanted to have a custom made dress. Pumpkin Cake thought for a moment and said yes. So after that, Rarity took her measurements and she decided to make it after her wish. And after about a couple of days, she went back there with her mother, and the dress was finished, and she loved it completely. She was amazed to see how the dress turned out so well. She thanked Rarity for the dress, and she wanted about to pay, but Rarity said it is free of charge for a friend. So, when the gala was happening, Spike went there with Pumpkin Cake. They actually had a great time walking around, spent some time with some other friends, just enjoyed the dancing together, and even enjoyed some of the food that was served there. For the most of all, they had a great time at this gala. For Spike, it felt like this was a great opportunity to have as a date. And even Pancake saw this as a date as well. Even a couple of days after the gala, both of them actually agreed this was the perfect night for them both. Even when they were dancing there, it felt like they were the only ones there. It's like the whole world has stopped as they were dancing. They even went out on the balcony and danced in the moonlight. It was a perfect night for them both. They really enjoyed it. And their love for each other has only grown stronger for each single day. And they barely fight or argue about almost anything. They didn't even do that. For some reason, Spike felt that Pumpkin Cake was the one that he was looking for. Even though he knew that his feelings for Rarity probably would never be answered back the same way as he wished for. But this was something that he really had enjoyed much. After they had been dating for a number of years, Spike now was ready to take the next step in their relationship. He was 20 years old, Pumpkin Cake was 19, and he was ready to ask her out to marriage. Even though he was a little bit nervous how she would react to this question, but after he actually bought the ring, he stood in front of the window, the mirror in his own room, like practicing in a way he would propose to her. He found a number of ways to do so, but he hasn't even told any pony about this proposal idea. Not even Twilight, because he wanted to have them all surprised. So, when he took Pumpkin Cake to the park just to help spend time with her, after about a moment, he then asked her. She said yes immediately. For some reason, she had a sense that this might be the day that Spike would propose. When they actually announced to both sided families, they were overjoyed, especially Twilight. She could have been incredibly not even expecting Spike or actually proposing to Pumpkin Cake. But he was happy, and she was happy. They decided to have the wedding in Canterlot within the next couple of weeks. Rarity made the dress for her and the suit for the Spike. Spike had asked Big Macintosh to be his best man, and Pumpkin Cake had asked Sweetie Belle to be her bridesmaid. They were actually became good friends over all the years. And afterwards, at the party that which Pinky had arranged, every pony had a great time, enjoying the sight of the dancing, the great food, and the music. Every pony had amazing. Even when Mr. and Mrs. Cake welcomed Spike into the family, they really could have been happier to see their daughter get married with the one she loved the most. Even though it was unusual, they had, for a while they thought maybe that Spunky Cake would end up getting married with a stallion from some town. But seeing her end up dating Spike and getting married with him, that was unusual. But they were not even against that at all. They were actually just happy that she found some pony to be with, even if it was a dragon for all. But as long as she is happy, they are happy. And after that, both Spike and Pumpkin Cake went to on honeymoon to Las Pegasus for about a week, where they had a great time, enjoying the rides and enjoying the magical shows and romantic dinners, and just perfectly. And just 3 years later, both Spike and Pumpkin Cake announced they were expecting a baby. Both sides of families were really excited. Mostly with Twilight, she was not expecting that to happen so soon. But they eventually had a daughter. And just 2 years later, both Spike and Pumpkin Cake announced they were expecting another baby. But this time, a boy. They could have been happier to have a daughter and a son this time. Even both were half dragon, half pony hybrid. But despite that, they love each other so much. They could have been happier, but to be with the one they loved the most. Because if Spike of all, if he had even followed this advice that Luna had given him years earlier, he would never have found his true love in Pumpkin Cake. And even if he had followed this idea, if he had never even had considered to if he had never even considered to ask Luna for help, this may not have even happened. He may have not found his true love and not had this amazing family. But he was happy that he did follow the advice that Luna gave him all those years ago. So Spike and Pumpkin Cake were both happy to have found the true love of they loved the most. And this is how Spike and Pumpkin Cake found the true love and got a family together. The end.